In the next edition of It's About Money, our guest will be Bob Russell from the Little Theater, talking about the 80th celebration of the Little Theater, a real gem here in Rochester. Stay tuned. Welcome to another edition of It's About Money. I'm Nanette Nokan, and thank you for joining us. I'm delighted to tell you that our guest is Bob Russell, who is the Executive Director at the Little Theater. Thank you for being here.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be here.
And I love the Little. I think everybody in Rochester loves the Little.
I love the Little, so.
So tell me, what makes the Little so good that it has been an institution for the last 80 years?
Well, I think the big thing is it's an organization that's been able to bring a completely different voice to Rochester. You know, predominantly in film, which is what everybody knows us for. That's where the start became. But a lot of it is just because we're able to bring different things to the community. We're able to bring different cultures into Rochester as well, be it through film or be it through our opera series from Europe. So I think that's the big thing, is that we give people something that they just don't seem to get at any of the other theaters in town.
And there's a lot of cities also who don't have the kind of gem that we have here.
There are. I believe it or not, I received an email from somebody the other day who says, you know, I travel for business a lot, all big cities, and I can't find a Little anywhere. And I think that says a lot, that, you know, the uniqueness that not only the Little has, but what Rochester has helped to cultivate. And really that's why the Little is where it is because the community has taken it under its wing. It's a place it loves to support, it loves to go to, and you just don't find it popping up in other cities.
Actually, let's go back about 80 years ago. Was the Little always at the location on East Avenue?
Yeah, the original location of Little One, which is our main building, opened on October 17th, 1929. It was actually 2 weeks after Black Friday.
Oh, wow.
So talk about a time to open.
Yes.
And the theater opened as a silent movie house. And then they were also working with silent movies, foreign films, what they called avant-garde films at the time, which I guess now would be independent films, if there was a correlation. But that main building has been at that location since 1929. So we're recognized as a historic theater and a historic landmark. Also one of the first Art Deco buildings that was built in Rochester.
Oh,
so a lot of history, and sometimes when you stop and you look and you take that in, and you look and you go, you know, these are the original pieces that were here. It's really something.
And then at that time, was it started by a company, a group of people? I mean, what was?
Well, it was created as part of what was called the Little Cinema Movement. And it was a national movement to try and build smaller, more intimate movie theaters. Because at the time you had the big movie palaces that had, you know, 1,500, 2,000 seats. So kind of an organization started creating these smaller theaters. And there was one in Buffalo. Okay. And based on the success of that, they decided that Rochester would be a great location for it. And from what we're trying to do a lot of research right now, but it looks like we're the only remaining operating theater that was built as part of that movement.
I see, and that's why the name Little comes from, because of a little theater. I see. I always wonder why it's called the Little.
Yeah, because it was part of that movement that they were calling the Little Cinema Movement. So.
I see, rather than these grandiose cinematic structures.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think nowadays you kind of have some correlation with some of the megaplexes, you know, where you go into these huge auditoriums. But even, you know, for us, the littlest theater, the original one, is our largest. You know, it seats 299 people. At the time, those were considered very small screening rooms. So
now, in the 80 years, there's been some transition. Was there ever a time where the Little was actually shut down, or just continuously operating the last 80 years?
There were some times where it was closed. There was a time period where it had been purchased by Joe Moore's theater chain, which was a chain out of Rochester, back in the 60s. Then, just because of economic times with single movie houses, as some of the suburban movie theaters started to be created, where, you know, you started seeing 4 or 5 screens in the same theater. The theater actually turned into an adult theater for a short period of time.
Oh my!
As many older theaters in Rochester and around the country did. I know the Monroe Theater had fallen apart of that. It then closed down for a few years, and then it was purchased by three people, Bill Coppard and John and Pam Blampede in the 80s, and they reopened the Little One, and the first movie that they showed there was My Dinner with Andre, with Wally Shawn. And then eventually over the course of, the next 10 years, 2 more theaters were added on into the back, another 2 theaters, and then the cafe. So
no, when you go in the Little, and what saddens me is there's some people in our community who have not been to the Little. They know about the Little, but they have not been. I'm like, how could you not have been to the Little? I mean, they understand the value of the Little, but somehow have not got themselves there. But there's Little One, the bigger theater with 299 seats on East Avenue, and then towards the back though are those theaters 2 to 5.
Correct.
What was that structure before? Was that built to be a theater or something else before?
no, it was actually a tire company.
Okay.
That sold and did work with auto tires.
Okay.
And when that closed down, that's when it was purchased by the owners.
Okay.
And they created, like I said, originally it was just 2 theaters back there, and then they added on the next 2. And of course now the cafe is in even a 3rd building.
I see. Oh, okay. So the cafe wasn't part of the original 2 to 5.
Yeah.
I see. And then during that time, so Bill and Pam, John had purchased the theater and then opened up, and then it transformed again, right, into a nonprofit organization.
Yeah, back in 1999, the theater, there were some people that helped to invest some money because the theater was going through some tough times. And part of their mission and their goal was longevity. To try and make sure that the Little would be around for many years. And they decided that the best way to do that was to try and get not-for-profit status so that they could then also work with some other events and work with education programs, outreach programs, and be able to raise funds as a not-for-profit. So being able to have memberships available for people, being able to try and get grants from foundations. And I think that's really the biggest thing. When I went to the Little, it was kind of in the mid stages of we're not for profit, but a lot of people weren't aware of that. And that's really been one of our biggest missions the last 3 years is making sure the community knows that we are a not-for-profit organization, which means that we're responsible giving back to the community. It's not just, how much money can we make? It's what sort of programming is going to affect the entire community. And the other thing is getting people aware that there is more than just one theater at the Little.
Right.
Because it does amaze me sometimes when people are like, well, how do you fit 5 theaters in that one building? They hadn't been there in a while. So that's what I always tell people, come and give us a try the first time. If you don't have a great experience and you're not blown away by everything that we've got going on, let me know, I'll refund your money.
Yeah, well, that's great. It's a great offer.
I want to get people into the doors. A lot of people aren't aware, too, of the cafe. And the cafe is a very big part of what we do because, we like to call it the Little experience. It's more than just going to a movie theater. Because our theaters are much more intimate. We don't have like a lot of neon when you walk in some of the bigger places. But it's a different feeling for people. Each theater is laid out differently. Each theater has a different tapestry to it that we have. But with the cafe, people are able to come in before the movie if they'd like to get something to eat, get a glass of wine or a beer. We have live music 5 nights a week that's all free of charge to the public. We have our art gallery in the cafe, and that changes monthly. And we're booked through 2011 right now, so it's a very sought-after space. And it's really the entire package. We've been voted for, I think, the last 3 years in a row by the readers of City Newspaper as the best place for a first date.
I know, I read that. So impressive.
And I think that's part of it, is that you can come, you can enjoy a film. Some people don't even come for the film. They come because they want to grab some dessert, coffee, and listen to music.
Which I've done.
That's okay, too, which you've done. I've seen you there.
Yeah, that's right.
So, that's for us really the biggest thing is, we're more than just a movie theater now. That's what we started at, but it's much more of a cultural arts center.
And my show is about money, and the reason I thought, well, it's so fitting to have you here is because it's really good value for the money you pay. Like you said, you go in there and there's an experience besides the movie. You can go to the cafe, obviously you'd pay for your food and drinks, but you have that extra experience of art around you, of music that you listen to, and it's nice to just chat. And you have Wi-Fi connection now, right?
Yes, we do have Wi-Fi in the cafe. Well, it's amazing because we'll get especially a lot of students will come down during the week and they'll be working on their laptops and just having a latte or a piece of cake or a beer or whatever it is. And a lot of people now are starting to do that as just they're looking for a different place to go. And I think being able to go somewhere, especially when we do have the music going on, where they can just relax. There's nothing else that they have to worry about.
Yeah, and people talk about, I'm afraid to go to the city, but it's one of the safest locations.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many policemen around, and you always feel safe. I've never
No, the East End area, it's a safe location, but also it's safe because there's a lot of people. There's a lot of traffic in the East End area, and I think that's the biggest thing. When people say, "Oh yeah, going downtown," no, it's totally safe. And for a lot of people coming in from suburbs, what they like is that we're right off the inner loop.
Right.
So you get right off the inner loop, the theater's right there.
And there's a lot of parking. I mean, there's a garage for free parking, right?
Yeah, the East End Garage has free parking. It's actually 172 steps.
Oh, okay.
I walked it one time.
It's a good exercise besides.
Well, somebody said, it's so far away. So I did that, and then I went to some of the suburban movie theaters, and I parked in their parking lots and walked even further.
Oh, wow.
So there's plenty of parking down. So people can't use that as an excuse anymore.
Yeah, absolutely not. 172 steps. Yeah. And it's well lit. So it's not something like, I come out of the movie theater and it's dark. It's lit. So. Well,
I think that's one of the things. The Little really has been the mainstay at one end of the East End. And at the other end of the East End, it's been the Eastman Theater.
Sure.
And some things have changed in between.
Right.
But those are the two constants.
Right.
And I think, to go downtown at night and see, and even the upper part of the East End, from Alexander down, you go there and there's so many things going on. There's a lot of people walking around. It's just a great feeling. It kind of gives, everybody says, oh, Rochester's a small town. No, it's not. When you find pockets like that and you see it, it's just like being in any other city.
Sure.
And it's great to see so many people and,
Right. I think it's a small town in a way that there's a lot of connection among people, but I think it's a big town because of the many offerings.
What do they say, the 2 degrees of separation in Rochester instead of the 6 degrees?
That's right. That's right. But so it kind of is a nice mix of those things. Yeah. Now, you talked about the membership because it's a non-profit organization. There's a film society, right? So tell me about that and how that fits into the theater experience and, being part of the Little.
Well, what it does with the membership is it gives us that financial support so that we can stay true to the mission of what we are and what we want to bring in. When I'm programming films, I'm not necessarily looking and saying, oh, what's going to bring in the most money? We were asked if we wanted to have Harry Potter. Now, Harry Potter is, of course, a juggernaut of a film, but it didn't fit into our mission. It would have brought in money. But instead I said, well, what about a film like Moon? Or a film like The Hurt Locker? These are the type of films that we need to show. That's what membership allows us to be able to do. It allows us to be able to not look at films based on how much money we think, but on their artistic value and whether we think people are wanting to see that film or being exposed to it. There's some films that we know that we bring in that are going to hit a smaller audience. But the impact that those films have. I mean, recently, The Stoning of Soraya M. Very, very powerful film. But we knew that a lot of people weren't going to want to necessarily come because it's a rough topic. But the people that came to see it were the ones that were saying, thank you for bringing it here. Thanks for having the courage. That's really, for me, what it's about. That's what membership lets us do. It allows us to be able to do our talk back series, where after films, we're bringing in filmmakers or people dealing with a topic around a film to create that discussion with the audience. And we actually call it bringing the artist to the audience because that's what we're trying to do. I've always been, as a film lover, the one that wants to walk out and talk about a film, not walk out, put my head down, make it to my car. I get excited about that, and that's what our audience is. I've had great discussions with complete strangers long before I ever worked at the Little, just at the end of a film, because people wanted to have that interaction. And it's really about creating community. Membership also allows us to be able to move ourselves and explore different types of programming, whether it's a short series or a film festival that we might be looking to bring in. Last year we created what was called the Harvesting Justice film series, and we worked with Rural Migrant Ministries. And it was a 4-month series that looked at issues of social justice. Now, we knew that it wasn't going to be something where we were like, oh, let's put this together and we'll make money from it.
Right.
it was about, let's put this together because it can open doors for people, because it can bring a topic to the forefront.
Right.
If we didn't have membership, we wouldn't be able to do that. So membership's very, very important for us, as well as our donors, whether they're individuals or corporations. And, you know, with the economic times right now, it's been tough on membership. We've lost some membership. People feel bad about it. They're apologizing, saying, I'll be back, but I just can't do it right now. And we have a wide range. I mean, our memberships start at $50 and they go up into thousands of dollars.
But so, membership does have some benefits, though. I mean,
membership
it's not like people
definitely
just
has
give money
benefits.
and then, I mean, they get discounts.
Yeah, well, we have there. The biggest thing is people get discounts on tickets. Some of the levels, they actually get free tickets for the year. Okay. So if somebody goes to the movies a lot, it's a great deal. They also get invites for special events and screenings that might be happening. They get discounts on popcorn and soda in the cafe, as well as for other local businesses. So there is something that goes back. I always say if you're looking at our membership as like a membership to a zoo or a museum, where if I go X number of times, it will pay itself back. For film goers, the membership definitely pays itself back. But then we have other events like free member nights.
Sure.
So members, any member can come for free and be a part of things. And the best thing about it is members feel like they have ownership of the theater and the standpoint of how they relate to the theater. You know, I'm a member, I love the Little. This is a Little movie. This is my place. And I love when people have that sort of emotional attachment to it. Now, when I say they have ownership, it doesn't mean that they're coming and saying, hey, by the way, you need to change this, that, and the other thing. Although they do say never change the popcorn.
Oh, yeah, well, that's the great popcorn.
That's a big thing. Never change the popcorn. It's the best popcorn
ingredient in there.
Yeah. But that's really an important part. So that's part of our ongoing mission, is always to try and have new members. The one membership that's very popular for us, too, is our student membership. Because that's $35, and as part of that, you get 12 free movie tickets. So a lot of the students go, $2.90 a movie. I think I'll take it.
Sure, right. I think matinees are more expensive than that.
Yeah. And we also, you know, we've got the lowest first-run movie ticket price in town. I mean, our ticket is $8 compared to, you know, people that are paying $9.50 at, you know, the commercial theaters. So on top of it being, you know, only $8, then you get a discount on top of that. It's a great value if that's all somebody's looking for. But most of the people that are members, it's because they want to see us continue what we're doing. They want to see us continue bringing in the sort of films that we do that they can't see necessarily in a lot of other places.
That's great. We'll take a quick break. We're talking with Bob Russell, who's the Executive Director of the Little Theater. Stay with us. I'm Nanette Nauken. It's About Money. We're talking with Bob Russell, who is the Executive Director of the Little Theater, celebrating 80 years in Rochester. Welcome again, Bob.
Glad to be back. What a great break.
You know, one of the things that I think is exciting about the Little is the festivals that you have. I was talking to a student that we host from Poland, attending the Eastman School of Music. And he's here because someone from Las Vegas sponsored him. So I saw him on YouTube and said, "You're good enough. I want you to come in and play for me here in Las Vegas, and we'll see what happens." So he flies him from Poland to Las Vegas. He performs and he says, "You're so good. I want you to apply to the Eastman School of Music. And when you get in, I will pay for your entire education."
Really?
Yeah. So isn't that wonderful? So this is guy there. And then so he says, "And you know, I have this favorite actor in Poland. And I thought someday I'd like to meet him. But he's from a little town in Poland." And guess what? There was a Polish film festival. His favorite actor comes to Rochester.
Jersey strong.
And he says, "I can't believe this. I come to Rochester, and there's my favorite actor in the whole wide world."
Yeah.
Isn't that a great story?
He's, you know, it was interesting when we work with the University of Rochester European Studies to do the Polish Film Festival, and we're the venue for it, but they do all the programming for it. When they were talking about, you know, who it was like, wait a minute, I've heard of these movies. And he's really, they consider him like the Robert De Niro of Poland, both as an actor and as a director. And the fact that they were able to get him here this year was very exciting. So the fact that, you know, the student has all of these things happening and then has the chance.
Right, he loves Rochester.
Yeah.
It's like, how could that be in this little town that I moved to? I mean, you know, he calls it little town, but at any rate, I thought it was so fascinating.
Yeah, well, it is. And I think that's a big part for us, why it's so important to be involved with a lot of the festivals, is because, you know, we always look at ourselves as being a community place, a community gathering place that opens up the world to different places, a lot of it through our foreign films. The festivals are so important because it gives people that opportunity to come and share in that. And, you know, we have, you know, the Polish Film Festival will be, I believe, going into its 5th year this November. We've already been working on working the dates for that. But then you've got other festivals. You've got the Jewish Festival. You've got the Image Out Festival. You've got the Rochester High Falls International Film Festival. You've got the Rochester Deaf Film Festival. There's all sorts of just great niches for people. And it's interesting because we'll see, you know, some of the festivals you'll see carryover people that just support all of them because they love film, they love the festival. But there's others that have very distinct audiences. And they're coming in because they want to see just something on that topic. We love it from the standpoint that it's getting people into our door and into our theater that maybe haven't been there before. But also because, again, it opens up that community. It brings people together, and it's not, you know, a black, white, you know, issue. It's about this mutual love that people have. They want to see these films. So even with the Polish Film Festival, we actually have had people say, "Well, I don't speak Polish." So that's okay, there's subtitles.
Yeah, right.
You don't have to. I don't speak French or Italian, and I love French and Italian movies.
Right.
So the festivals really open up a lot of doors for people to not only just come and see the film, but most of them do have those same discussions or the chance to meet the Robert De Niro of Poland.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, I've been to a number of different film festivals there, and sometimes you get shut out because there's just so many people. You have to really get in line ahead, you know, early.
Get your tickets early.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And it's nice too when you're waiting, how you're conversing with other people and what their experience has been, and you know what other films they've seen and that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, it's just a great atmosphere too. I mean, you know, ultimately, it's fun. It's entertaining.
Sure.
But it's being able to have people come in, and it's funny, depending on what type of film. You know, if it's a comedy, to see how people are interacting afterward. If it's a drama, to see how people are interacting afterward. They'll be like, "Oh, that was such a wonderful film." You know, as tears are starting to stream. I was like, okay, that film worked.
I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
You know, you've done a terrific job for the Little in the last 3 years.
Thank you very much.
Magnificent job. And
Thank
you
you.
really have included a lot of really neat things and different ways to get people down to the Little Theater. I mean, the emerging, you know, filmmaker series, that's really fantastic. And like you said, it's supported by membership. And now there's got to be other ways to fund the operations of the theater besides ticket sales, which doesn't cover everything, and food sales and so on. What other ways do you build revenue for the theater to keep it alive?
Well, and you mentioned about ticket sales, and yeah, movie theaters don't make money on tickets because the majority of what you bring in on a ticket goes back to the studios to be able to show the film. So it could be as high as 70%.
I see.
So 70 cents of every dollar goes right out the door. It's difficult for us because we do have the lower ticket prices. We also have very low concession prices because I don't want somebody coming, to the theater with 2 people and buy a bag of popcorn and a water and it costing them $15. That's not part of our mission. So because we don't have that revenue stream, we do have to look to other sources like membership, donations, grants, sometimes from local foundations, sometimes government grants, like State Assembly has been generous with us in the past. This year's a very difficult time for us because 100% practically of the funding we've received in the past hasn't been there. Government spending has been cut dramatically, and there still is no budget. So organizations that have been waiting to see if they'll get any support haven't been there. But also foundations, because of the structure of how the economy has been, their funding has gone down. So we've had to get a little more creative, doing things like fundraising events, being able to work with corporations to underwrite programming. The one thing is there's a lot of things that we'd like to do, but we have to get there first. We're not going to take so much of a financial risk that we'll say, well, let's just do it and see what happens. We want to have support lined up for it. We want to be able to know that we're not going to hurt the theater in the long run because of something that we want to just do right now. So we're usually going out and trying to find support. When we were looking to bring in the International Opera and Ballet series, it was very costly for us because it included adding a digital projection system, high definition projector, which was the first one that we were looking at. What we did was we went out and we spoke to some of our members and some of our donors, and the ones that really loved the idea of opera, they were opera fans, were people that invested into that. The other part were the people that could care less about opera, but they loved technology. And they love the fact that the Little is taking that next step in technology. So that's the biggest thing for us. It's really planning out, seeing what's coming down the line that we're going to have to take care of, like digital technology. That's the big buzz right now in the movie industry. At some point, they're saying they'll do away with actual film. Everything will come through the downloads. We're not there yet, thank goodness. But just to give you an example, they say to transform a single theater, so one screen, into digital is about $150,000. We have 5 screens.
Oh, wow, yeah.
That's a lot of money. So we're starting to try and work today to secure the funds, raise the money, so that when we have to buy it tomorrow, it'll already be there.
That's great. How was the opera and ballet series worked out?
It's wonderful. We're still building an audience for it, but we're averaging about 55 people per screening of it.
Nice.
But to be able to see these European productions, and I mean, these are coming from, the Bolshoi Ballet, the La Scala Opera House in Milan, the Salzburg Festival. To see the productions in high definition is absolutely incredible. Visually, it's different than anything I had ever seen before. I think the European companies take certain risks artistically that necessarily you haven't seen here in the United States. And some of these operas that, are from 1600s are futuristically set, and just very gorgeous. When we did La Traviata, I had a woman come up to me afterward, tears coming down her face. And she said, I have seen this opera 5 times in my life, but this was the first time I actually got to see it. It was the first time that I could actually see the singers' faces and see their expressions. And, she's crying. And I was like, that's what it does.
That's
great.
So,
we're continuing to build on that. We're hoping in the next couple months to announce something very exciting that will be coming through dealing with, I'll just say, a major theater in London. So we'll leave it at that.
Okay, we'll have to follow and find out what's going on. This has been a delightful conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
I really enjoy having you here, and I hope you got a lot of cool information about the Little. If you haven't been to the Little Theater, please make it. Contact Bob if you want to give it a try. And check out the website, right? And
www.thelittle.org.
that sounds great. And thank you again for being here, and best wishes for your 80th year celebration.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, our audience, for joining us. I'm Nanette Nocon. It's About Money. Until next time.